Hello everyone, in this video we're going to talk about bundling, and first of all I would like to review with you the basic theories around bundling. So first of all, bundling is all about the consumer surplus. So the consumer surplus of a product is simply the value a consumer attaches, or the perceived value. The perceived or the value or the perceived value consumer attaches. Why do we add perceived as marketers? Because we believe that every customer has a different value placed on the product or service, and this value is unlocked through the interaction or potential or expected interactions with the product or benefits of it. Attaches available product minus the actual maybe we don't need here complicate things, minus the actual cost of the product. The actual cost of the product is basically the price. But actual cost could also involve other than monetary costs. But for now, let's focus on just one cost, which is just the monetary cost and not any other cost like convenience and so on. As one of the students, I think Spencer, has mentioned in class, how about I just want for convenience to put all my to get all the services from one same telecommunication company, for example, for convenience. Let's assume that given that all other variables are constant and we don't have that, we don't want to base our pricing model on considering also some very complicated assumptions like what happens if this also been added. Yeah, so we're not going to do this for now. We're just going to take it as it's in its very basic forms. It's consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is very important because there's a producer surplus, which is basically that markup amount, the extra amount that you subtract the price minus the cost of goods sold, for example, and that would be the surplus for the producer or the business or the seller, while the consumer surplus here is whatever amount is extra than the extra that you have this surplus as the value that you place. Actually, the value that you place here, the consumer surplus of a product, is simply the value a consumer attaches to an available product minus the cost of the product. Okay, so willingness to pay price. When the willingness to pay price is equal to 0, this means only if you offer this product for free, that the price is 0, then you are willing to pay. Then most of the time the price of the product is not 0, so there is some price tag. So when the willing to pay price is 0, then definitely you are not willing to buy this product. All right, so there is a way to collect the to collect data in the form of the willingness to pay price, but in fact this is the different price tags that willing to pay price. We have 150, which is the minimum, and then all the way to the maximum 3,100 willing to pay price. And as you can see here, this is the frequency, it's the percentage. So why is it why does it start with 100%? Because all these guys are placing a willing to pay price. As you can see, here's the percentage. This is an acceptable price for them. So when this is an acceptable price for them, then definitely the cheaper most of them will agree to buy. So this is why the curve starts with 100% of the population accepting. And this is the percentage of respondents. As you can see, this is the respondents percentages, and it's go down. Then we have the profit. This is the optimum profit point. So here's the profit is basically here. The profit is the willingness to pay price minus the price. Willingness to pay price minus the price. So this is actually the price, not the willingness to pay price. So we need the price here so that we can make any calculations. So this is the not the willingness to pay price. This is at this price we will have all the population will buy. So we sometimes find the price that usually maximizes the profitability, and it's not necessarily the cheapest price, but a certain price where, as you can see here, the profitability is the highest. How do we do this in a more technical and mathematical way? The way that we do it is by, as you can see, collecting data. So this is our model that we discussed last time. This is the data that we collected, which has the willingness to pay price for a customer. And over here, we added the product price, which is something that we would like this product to pay price is basically, let me add this here and add a note here that this is the we'd like solver to find the price that maximizes revenue. Okay, so that's quite interesting. So this is why we have the price here set up for every combination. In class, we discussed the different combinations that could result on offering, for example, 3 basic products, which is the internet, the TV, and the cell phone. And then in class, we found out that internet, TV, internet, cell phone, TV, and cell phone, and all the 3 different combinations together will make valid bundles, so that we now have them listed up, as you can see over here. And then what we did is we lined up, as you can see here, the price for each and every one of the possible services as a bundle or as being standalone, as they separate, as they say here in Japan. So over here, this is, as you can see, the WTP minus the price. And when you have a combination, you combine all the WTP minus the price. And the same applies here, the sum of all WTP minus the price. All right, so what's next? This we call it, as you can see, it's a consumer surplus, which is the WTP minus the product price. I hope up until now everything is clear. So this data was collected from potential customers, and they placed the following price tag. For example, here for internet, this customer places 3.5. And if you price it here as a 3.5, then the surplus will be 0, because it's going to be 3.5 minus 3.5, which is going to be equal to 0. So when the price matches the willing to pay price and this is equal to 0, it's okay. They will still possibly buy it, yeah? Given the assumption, they will buy. But for example, over here, it's $7, but the price was $8. As you can see, this will result on a negative surplus. So there is a value in the non-positive value. So this will result on a decision of not buying. So when do we buy? Based on theory, mathematically, when surplus, if surplus is greater than or equal to 0, then, or 0, then buy. If surplus less than 0, won't buy. Then this is basically the theory that we need to take into consideration when we understand the surplus. Okay? So now, as you can see here, if the price, for example, is $1, then you have a positive surplus. Now you have 0 surplus, you have positive surplus, you have positive surplus. The surplus, the maximum surplus, or the option, for example here all 3, the option that provides you the maximum surplus, will be the choice of the customer. This is based on the theory. So this is based on theory. It's because I give you the question, but basically based on the theory and the assumptions explained in class, which is they are very basic assumptions. We're not considering, for example, convenience or any other variables here, but we're considering the very basic assumptions, all right? So that just based on the surplus. If the surplus is 0 or above, then the maximum surplus or the option or the product that provides the maximum surplus will be the choice of the customer, as you can see here. So now here we have 14. Now, are you gonna buy or you're not gonna buy? When this is less than 0, you're gonna buy or you're not gonna buy. So what does this mean? Then this means here, this is actually the explanation of buy, no buy. So I'm gonna put it here in orange so that you will understand that this is the explanation of it. So let's take a look, lovelies. If the surplus is greater than or equal to 0, then buy. If it is less than 0, you won't buy. So basically you're gonna say an if statement. What about an if statement? There's some people maybe don't know what is an if statement. Oh man. Excel if statements. So an if statement is a function, or if is a function. So one of the most popular functions in Excel are the if functions. Basically you have a condition. If this condition meets a certain parameter, then give me what you want, and else give me another option, whatever that you want. So here's also a video that explains the situation. So if C1 is equal to 1, give me yes. It is corresponding to yes. So this is C2, for example, which is active. If, for example, this is C2. If this C2 is equal to 1, return yes, otherwise return no. Over here, as you can see, over budget, if this value, C2, is greater than the budgeted, which is B2 is greater than B2, then over, give me, between quotes here, the text over budget, comma, else return within budget. Do you see? So this is something that you need to know before coming to today's class. So let's write this if statement in our minds. If, first of all, what would be the options? We have minus, 0, and positive. Okay, so if it's equal to, for example, if it's less than 0, which is the minus. If this is less than 0, then you will not buy. You won't buy. Let's code you won't buy as 0, for example. And let's code that you will buy as usually we code it as 1, but in this case I will not code it as 1. This is where the complication is, okay? Usually we code won't buy as 0 and buy as 1, right? But let me just explain little by little. So if this a maximum surplus is less than 0, I will not buy. Give me 0. You won't buy. Else, which is a comma, as you can see here when we looked at the explanation, there is no if here. If C2 is equal to yes, then return 1. Otherwise, return 2. Do you see this? For example, do you see this? This is an example of an if statement. Let's add it here also. If C2 equals yes, return 1, else return 2. So if this is less than 0, return 0. Else, I want you to return the price so that I can compute the revenue. So if it's here, give me the price that's been generated by the computer. Let's add here whatever price is. Then give me the price here generated by the computer so that I can compute revenue. There is unfortunately no such a function in Excel that is so smart that I will tell it if this is less than 0, okay, but then if not, of course, give me the value that corresponds to a couple of rows and columns above. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a two-step solution. First, we're going to say, as you can see here, let me show you. First, we're going to say if this value is less than 0, as you can see, if the surplus is less than 0, the people won't buy. Give me 0. Okay? Give me 0 or they won't buy. Okay. Otherwise, here's comma. Otherwise, do the following. Match, meaning find the index, the corresponding index, the position of L9. You see this L9? L9, do you see L9, the maximum surplus? So, if this maximum surplus, of course, it is taken from this range. Look it up in this range, the maximum surplus, look it up in this range. And when you find it in this range, yeah, as you can see, here is this L9, this value 5, find it in this range. And if you find it in this range, return the, as you can see here, the exact match. Return the exact match, which is return the index. So as you can see here, the index is starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it should return 7 because 5 matches the 7. For example, here if I put, for example, 16, then the maximum surplus is 2.5. Where is 2.5? 1, 2, 3. Then it should return a 3. Yes, it returned a 3. So basically the match function is a function that takes a certain value, look it up in a range, and then returns its position. So now do you see why we had the price set up in such a way that we also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to delineate and easily clearly explain that each price value here corresponds to a certain position. Then we have the revenue. The revenue over here will be if this value is equal to 0. When it's equal to 0, remember this value, when it's less than 0, it's equal to 0. If the surplus is less than 0, it's equal to 0. When is that possible? I'll tell you, for example, most of the prices are higher than the surplus. Do you see? So the surplus is equal 0, position is 1, but what if the price was here also 10? Do you see? So the maximum surplus is in the negative. And also this value, where does it correspond to? Well, no. First, we are going to run the first condition. If this value is less than 0, then you're not going to buy. So I don't want even its position here. Its position doesn't matter. So if this value is less than 0, you are not going to buy. Here, if the surplus is less than 0, you won't buy. This is coded as 0. Otherwise, if this value is positive, then match this value in this range and return its position. Why do you want to return the position? You want to return the position, for example, so that you can find the revenue. Because now you got the position of it. So this position also coded here. So do you see why I added the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Because I want, if this value is equal to 0, you're not going to buy. Then the revenue is 0. Otherwise, look up in a horizontal table. Do you see this table is horizontal? In my opinion, this is horizontal because this is the index and this is the price. Do you see that? This is the index, which is the position, and this is the price or the product price. So basically what we're trying to say is if this value is equal to 0, then give me 0. Otherwise, look up this value in the HLOOKUP and return the corresponding price, which is look up this value, this value this is the same here, M9. Look up this value M9, where look it up in E6 to K7. Here is E6, do you see? This is E6 and this is K7 in all this table. Look it up in all this table and add those dollar signs around the letter and number. And then over here at the very end, once you do that, you need to tell me which row index do you want to return. If you had multiple, this one doesn't have multiple, but it's not the first row, it's the second row. So I want you to return the second row. So as you can see, here I returned the revenue 10. Do you guys see? So that is quite interesting, isn't it? This is quite interesting. Do you see? So with this, you can see here the maximum surplus. You can see if it is bought or not. You will see here the revenue. So you will take this value. If it's equal to 0, then it is don't buy. Otherwise, look it up in this lookup table. But this lookup table, look at it as a horizontal. The first index, the second index is what I want, the corresponding value of that letter, that number, that digit 7. So this is how it works. So why do we have like 2 steps? Because there is no such a function that tells me here, if this is 4, fetch for me the value 2 rows above it, for example. Because this 2 rows above it, in fact, will change. It's relative, because what you're going to do here is you are going to populate the whole area over here with the surplus. So you are going to take your cursor, place it to the corner, double click. Oh no, there's a problem here. Why? You tell me. What's the problem? Let's take a look. As you can see here, I actually added the dollar signs to stabilize the position of this. So no matter how much, how down you go, relatively the value stays still. It doesn't go down. Over here, you have it all right. This is the sum of all these values. And this is, we explained in class, this is the willing to pay price minus the price. And this is, for example, the sum, because it is all products together, TV, internet, and cell phone. So you are going to sum all the willingness to pay price of all these values minus the price, as you can see here. So with this, what we did is K7 needs to be actually stabilized. So you need to so as you can see here, this is how we do it. I think maybe there's a way to do this, to get rid of all these errors. You don't have to, but I'm a very picky person, yeah? Let's see. Okay, it's not very important. So now you need to make sure that the corresponding willing to pay price here is summed up, yeah? And then you subtract the price. And this is how we set it up. And here you go to the corner, double click, and these would be the values. Now, these you can populate whatever values you want, or you can just leave them blank. And this is how you set up the model but we didn't solve it yet. We need to use Solver to set up the perfect pricing. So for this, I would like to record another video so we can keep the videos short.